All right, let's talk about alpha women. Alpha women. We're going to start out by I'm going to be reading something, an email. Sorry, it wasn't an email, it was a YouTube comment, but it's in my email. And then we're going to talk all about it and we're going to have a lot of fun. So, alpha women have both sets of qualities. This was a comment on my YouTube video, an alpha woman video I did. That's what makes her alpha. Naturally, a man will not see the feminine qualities until he gets to know her and she lets her guard down. Women have very good reasons to have their guard up with men. Who she is to an unfamiliar man is different from who she is to a man who she's come to romantically trust. Alpha women can be turned into mush by the right man, and real men know this. If you're an alpha male, that should probably be the most rewarding part. Not really. Watching her choose to stop flexing and want to start cuddling, he shows her there's no threat with him and it's safe to be herself. Okay, yeah, the rest doesn't really matter. So, this is, of course, the typical excuse that women have about their alphaness. And there's no such thing as a woman actually being alpha. It's all just wounds. You understand that. And look, I'm not being judgmental and ripping on alpha women. This is the help women see their wounds so that they can actually start healing instead of justifying. Okay. It's not who you are, it's who you've become, partly because of a personality type that has become soft wired with your childhood woundings. Okay, that has created this basically protective mechanism over who you actually really are, which is going to push away men. So, Dr. Penguin, whoever that is, actually makes some good points here. Okay, it's not that this is all wrong. Uh, yes, so let's start with alpha women can be turned into mush by the right man. Absolutely. Okay, a really strong, powerful man. What he is going to do is polarize a woman who is energetically masculine into her feminine energy, and she will present as somewhat relative to how she started, relatively soft and cuddly and all of that kind of stuff. Okay, there's a few problems with that though. Number one, masculine men are not going to stick around with such a woman to polarize her into her feminine, because why would he do that when he can just find a woman who is feminine all the time, doesn't need somebody to polarize her into that energy. She's just embodied in that energy. Okay. It is the equivalent of a man who's naturally very feminine and, just going with the flow, la la la. And then a woman comes along who's so unbelievably feminine that he's like, oh my God, I kind of want to lead. I kind of want to provide. I kind of want to protect this woman. Wow, that's never happened before. That's great. But is that man going to be as masculine as a man who's just naturally that way 100% of the time without a super feminine woman to polarize him? No, of course. Of course, a woman's not going to want to be with that kind of man. She's going to pick the naturally masculine man, and it's the same thing with alpha females, right? Like, yes, a really masculine man could polarize her, and that does happen. But because men are innately attracted to the most feminine women and the most feminine traits from women, alpha women are not going to be the ones that are going to get claimed by those men. Or if they do, typically the problems are going to happen later down the road and cause a whole bunch of issues. So that's important to know. And then here's the other thing. Understand that alpha women, and when I say alpha, this is like the extreme of one type of masculine women. And by the way, there's lots of types. Many women can present as very feminine, very soft, very vulnerable, but they're compliant doormats, and that's also masculine. Okay, we're not talking about those type of women right now. But the ones that present as more classically masculine, the ones that strong, identify with being strong and independent and competent and powerful and all of that kind of stuff. The thing is that it's cool, I guess, if a woman can be that woman. Okay. In some situations, that would be really useful. Like if she had a man and he died, and then she has to really get stuff done, or she has to defend her children in some kind of way from a terrible school system, from the government, or from whatever. That's great. Okay, there's nothing wrong with having those qualities, right? I'm not taking a dump on on those qualities for a woman to be able to exhibit, right? Just like I wouldn't take a dump on a man if he's able to, cry and be vulnerable and all of that stuff. I can do all of that stuff, right? There's nothing wrong with it. It's just, are you imprisoned by it? That's what the problem is. That is what the problem is. And alpha women are all imprisoned by that, right? They're stuck in their masculine energy, right? Whether they call themselves an alpha or not, whether they're strong, independent, all that stuff, they're stuck in that masculine energy. And yes, a stronger masculine energy within a masculine man can polarize her into her feminine, but that's the only way that she can escape from her prison. She needs someone to do a jailbreak on her. Otherwise, she's stuck. She's stuck in that energy and she can't get out. Why can't she get out? She can't get out because she feels so anxious. We'll call it unsafe. That's not a feeling, but unsafe to let go, to open up her heart to the world, to just flow. Okay, to be free in that kind of way with a man or just in general in life. Okay. And that fear is going to keep her in that masculine energetic to protect her. Okay. And this is why I don't take craps on women, right? It's not about being judgmental towards these women. It's just a wound, just like any other wound. Okay. It's just a wound like any other wound that she picked up in childhood to keep her safe. Okay. Because she wasn't fully safe to be, right? To be in her heart, to be in her body, to be in her flow, to let go, to have that faith in her parents and her caregivers and whoever else, right? And so this wound developed to keep her safe. The problem is that once that wound develops, if she stays in that energetic, she stays in that wound, well, she's never really going to be safe, because the kind of men that could keep her safe, that would be totally inspired to keep her as safe as possible, they won't want her. They won't be inspired to want to take care of her. They won't want to claim her. Okay? So a woman is going to always have to be protecting herself with her alphaness. And of course, you find that rare guy that, because of your beauty and other stuff, he is with you for a while, might sleep with you and whatever, but it tends to not last. Right? And so you end up getting hurt over and over again because you can't sustainably attract a masculine man who wants to take care of you. There's no safety in that. So Johnny says she needs a leader, someone that can handle the poop, try not to swear on here, that blew her away. Yeah, I mean, she does need that, right? Like, and if I'm doing a video for men, right, who for whatever reason have happened to find that kind of woman and are in a relationship with that kind of woman, what I'm going to tell men is, yeah, you've got to step up and become that leader and actually lead her into permanently being in her feminine, like learning how to fully let go, not just around you, but with everybody, right? She does need that. And a man who's with that woman needs to become that. But the problem is that kind of woman is going to typically not attract that, or if she does, she's not going to be able to sustainably inspire that from a man. That's the problem. Okay. And this is there's victim mindsets for every type of woman, right? Like the classical doormat kind of good girl, whatever woman, she's got lots of victim stories. And then the more alpha masculinized woman also is going to have her victim stories. And her victim story is, I just need a man, a leader or whatever, who's strong enough to handle my stuff, to be able to, take care of me in that way, so that I can let go. There's just not men that are powerful enough to do that. No, that's the ultimate victim story, isn't it? Why? Because it allows a woman the justification, the excuse to stay stuck in that wound, right? It allows her the excuse to stay stuck. Just like the feminine man who's like, I just need a woman who's feminine enough to polarize me into wanting to provide and, be a man and get a job and whatever else. Well, that's the ultimate victim story, isn't it? No, you got to do that for you. So one of the things that I do when I am, when I'm talking to people on YouTube or whatever is, I'm not going to enable any of those victim stories. I'm going to be like, this is a victim story. Here's what you're doing. Here's how you're justifying yourself to stay stuck. You're not going to ever get what you want that way, because it's not about, you're just getting the external reflection that you need from the universe, or from, if you're in a relationship, then from a man. If you're not being cherished by specifically a masculine man, right? Not a doormat people pleaser, but specifically a masculine dominant man, just taking care of you, leading you, loving you. Well, that's the external reflection that you need, isn't it? That is telling you there's something in yourself that you need to shift. And that something is your wound, right? It is your alphaness. That is all a wound. And of course, that's really hard for women who are strongly identified with that, where it's like, this is what makes me me. I'm strong and independent, and empowered goddess, boss babe, whatever. That's really hard to let go of, because it's like, it's the death of self. I mean, it's not really you, but it's the it's the you that you think that you are. Sorry, does that make sense? It's, you think that it's the you, but it isn't the you. So to even let all of my words in, for it to fully resonate, you have to recognize that this is not you, that all of that masculine energy is just a wound. And yes, there's reasons for it. It's not about being bad or anything like that. It's just, okay, this is a wound. And there's a little girl under there that needs your love and care and courage to move through that wound, to move through the fear of letting go, of opening up, of being vulnerable, and not relying on a masculine, super dominant man to help you do that. You do it for you. It's an inside job. Okay, because until you can do that with any guy, with anybody, you're going to have a very hard time attracting what you want. Okay. And so this is what we really help, one of the things we really help women with that are in that energetic. We do that in our academy program, but a really good way to get introduced to what we are doing with this communication framework, with this behavioral shifts that we help women undergo, is by joining our polarized communication masterclass, right? Because you can do this work yourself. Again, you don't need to rely on a man, and you really shouldn't rely on a man, right? Like romantically, for that, because he's probably just not coming. He's not coming until you do this. Or if you are with this somewhat masculine man, his devotion isn't coming until you do this. You've got to do the work yourself. You've got to move yourself through these behavior patterns, open yourself up, learn to let go, learn to be in your flow, and especially learn to communicate your vulnerable self all the time, even when you're absolutely terrified to do it, right? Don't let fear stop you. And that's what we show you how to do by showing you how to specifically shift your communication to get into that energetic, okay, into that energy of letting go and being open. And the more that you do it, it's like anything else. It's like public speaking. First time you do it, you're terrified and you're shaking, and your voice is all not very, people don't really want to listen to, because you're quiet and boring and whatever else. But the more that you do it, the more that you learn how to fully open into who you really are, and then you start attracting what you really need and deserve. How great is that? So join us in December. Okay, our next one is in December, and we're going to show you what this communication looks like. We're going to role play it for you, and we're going to take questions and show you, give you this understanding of how to make these shifts. Don't stay stuck in this. It's always a choice. You got to make the choice to change. You got to make the choice to be better, to not enable your excuses and your stuckness. Let's get you unstuck. Go to claritymasterclass.com, book your spot, and I'll see you in December. All right. See you for the next video.